you're the Long Island sign guy. It was actually Gary V. And so he said that to me. He's like, you're the Long Island sign guy. And he just said it very matter-of-factly, like, that's who you are. We met in his office, and then we were leaving, and he was leaving at the exact same time. We get in the elevator together. And so he and I are just talking for a second. And he goes, you're the Long Island sign guy. You can talk about whatever you want. Very matter of fact. And that's really what made me lean into and what became this whole Long Island sign guy history thing. My name's Arthur Frischman. I am the Long Island sign guy. I have been in the sign business for a little over 3 years now and been known as the Long Island sign guy for, it's coming up on 2 years now. We started Long Island sign guy. Obviously gotten really big in the last year and a lot of fun to do.
Well, first of all, welcome back. You were the official first guest to come back onto the podcast. So the repeat guest. So I'm looking forward to us doing like a series of those because I think that it'll be cool to like kind of see maybe a year later, 2 years later, how things change in the business and what business owners have learned and over that time, and or how things have changed because things have changed pretty dramatically over the past couple months, but the year for you. In fact, I sent you a screenshot of my family group chat, my large family. It's not even like my immediate family.
Yeah, I remember the group chat.
It was the Restituto family. So it was like 35 people in there. And my aunt had sent one of your videos. And I'm like,
that's funny.
I was like, oh, I know that guy. And I don't think I told you this actually. This was really cool. This was kind of a pat on my back and your back at the same time. My father-in-law, you correct me if I told you this or not, but my father-in-law, they are avid BAB listeners.
Yeah.
My father-in-law and my mother-in-law, but they moved down to Tampa 6 years ago, and they were listening to BAB one morning, and he's like, Arthur Frischman, I think I know that, like, blah, blah, like I think I went to high school with him, so he Googled your name, and our interview was the first thing. He's like, hey, my son-in-law, like my son, he was just a BAB, and now my son, it was. So I appreciate you getting a little social credit with my father-in-law.
You definitely told me the Restituto family. I saw that chat you sent me,
but it was funny. So my father-in-law, Bob Bernardo, went to high school with you. So I don't know if you.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
I think you say that name, and I think we had this conversation. I think he was a year or so behind me. Yeah. I think I remember the name.
He said
a long time ago.
He said you were the guy in high school, though. You used to drive the sick cars or whatever.
I think he's making that shit up. He's making that part up.
Well, regardless, I appreciate you coming back, and I'm looking forward to hearing how much things have changed over the past year. And just you've used social media in a very interesting way. And I want to talk just everything, business in general and stuff. I do want to highlight the fact that how you use social media, kind of in a broader view than I think a lot of people use. And I just kind of want to hear your story on that.
I say this when people ask me about social media all the time. Social media is not really for selling. And that's the biggest misunderstanding that people are like, why are you doing it if you're not trying to sell? Well, the truth is I am trying to sell, but I'm not selling product through social media. I'm using social media to build relationships. And people just misinterpret that and misunderstand that. And what I've done is I use what we call an interest umbrella, right? I need people on Long Island that own businesses or part of a business, which is really kind of anybody, and would be buying a sign. So it's kind of hard to target a really interesting topic for all those people. So I've decided to talk all about Long Island. So my interest umbrella encompasses everybody that can conceivably buy my signs. So I'm building relationships with all these people, and these are my customers, and they're under that umbrella. And it's all about, that's it. It's about building that relationship. And people always sit there and they talk to me and like, oh, I'm doing that. But at the end of every video is like, hey, if you need your car washed, come to me. Like, no, you're missing the point. Mm-hmm. Stop. And it's about building the relationships, building the trust, getting people to know who you are.
Trust is a really interesting point of that, and I would like to hear your perspective on that. But I've used this analogy a lot where I've heard it before, and it's talking about trust as a business owner, building trust as a business owner. And instead of selling, you're building trust with the aspect of, say, for example, auto mechanic, one of the sketchiest industries out there, and how this auto mechanic could use social media to build trust with the customer in the sense of, instead of saying, hey, your car broke down, come to me, instead say, here's 3 ways you can avoid coming to me. Now, whether it be changing your oil, whether it be checking your tire, whatever the
Yeah.
case may be, right? Washing, I don't know, whatever. But the point of the story is that by saying something like, "Oh wow, like here's how you can avoid coming to a mechanic." One, people are always going to a mechanic regardless, but two, you create this subconscious social trust of like, "Hey, like he's not just trying to make my sale. He actually, cares." And at some point you're going to need the mechanic, so who's the first person
Correct.
you think of? Or, here's how to change your own oil,
Yep.
so that like nobody, like most people don't want to change their own oil, but
No,
the fact that
not
you're
at all.
sharing that information so that I don't have to come to you builds this really interesting trust of like, oh, well, maybe I actually will go to that guy, even though we think that there's this like gatekeeping of secrets, and
No.
the more you put out there, the more you share with people. Is
Absolutely the most important thing. And the funny part of what you just said is I was doing some content before I left my shop, and the video I just filmed were 3 signs you should not call me or any local sign company for. Literally, that's filmed and unedited, and that's exactly what I'm saying. You're telling people, and I have a client that is a sign client that asks me a lot about social media, and they are a auto mechanic. They're mechanics. They're a very large one, but they take care. I'm like, create 100 videos on everything that could go wrong with a car, how to fix it, show them the tools they need, there's parts, how to go about doing it. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it. But put out these videos that educate people. There's two things: they're teaching people and building trust, and they're evergreen content.
mm,
It's not doing the latest TikTok dance,
hmm
it's teaching someone how to change a tire.
yeah.
I can always use that.
And we see a lot in the industry of fitness, but I think people don't recognize that it translates. People like see the fact of like, okay, wow, that guy is ripped. I'd love to look like that. And he's telling you what he's doing. He's telling you what he's eating. He's telling you how he's exercising. He's telling you all the things that he's
Mhm,
doing, but nobody actually wants to do it. And it's the same concept of like whether you're in
mhm,
the film industry, whether you're in the entertainment industry or the sign industry,
mhm.
mechanic. It's like you tell people what they need to do. Nobody actually wants to do it,
Yeah,
but you're building this trust of like, oh, well, like I guess I'll just go to that guy because he
correct.
seems like he knows what he's talking about, and also seems trustworthy because he's not trying to just sell me anything.
Well, the other part is social media is the ultimate screening process.
Mm,
Okay. When somebody calls me off a video, people will call for signs and they'll be like, hey, yeah, I have a business, I need a sign, and this is what they need. And then 10 minutes into the conversation, I'm like, yeah, I follow you on Instagram. And if they don't like me on Instagram, they're not going to call me.
mm,
So the relationship is almost already there. And there are people who look at my videos and I'm sure I go, I don't like that guy. They're not calling me. They're not wasting their time. They're not wasting my time. It is the ultimate screening
yeah,
process.
I like that.
It really, by the time someone calls me, they've already determined that they like me enough to think they could do business with me.
Yeah, so it's the lead generation's already there. They call it the lead, but also the screening behind the lead of like, I don't really know if I vibe with this
Yeah,
guy. Is already taken care of, and it
that's it.
stops wasting everybody's time. And
Correct.
yeah, that's really interesting.
That's
So on the more nitty gritty side of it, like how does your lead generation actually work? Of like you do a sign talking about Northport Village and the history behind it, and
mhm.
how does it actually impact your business?
So you know some of the backstory in that I restarted this business let the fall of 2024, fall winter of 2024. I started from zero. The business is completely built 100% on social media. And in no video that I've done on Long Island Sign Guy does it say, if you need a sign, call me. I have some paid ads going, but none of my organic traffic has anything to do with call me about a sign. I do. I build relationships. I build recognition. There is no podcast, no video, nothing you'll ever see me that doesn't have my company name on it, my Long Island Sign Guy logo. Everything has that, and it's just ingrained. That's who I am. I own a sign company. I may be talking about Northport Harbor or the Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway, but I'm Long Island Sign Guy.
Do you think that translates though? How do people know you that you make signs? Like how does that translation happen?
Yeah, well, people call me the sign guy. Everybody calls me sign guy. And they know. I mean, they absolutely know um, because there's enough mixed in videos of history of signs we've done. We do a lot of videos on signs we've done on on how signs are built and tips on building signs, what not to do when you're building signs. So there's a lot there of content related to signs mixed in with, you know, 200, 300 educational videos about Long Island.
Mhm.
So, but people absolutely know, and I've never heard nobody's ever called me and said, "Oh, I never realized you were a sign guy." They know right off the top.
Mhm.
So,
I have a selfish question. I'm curious what the permitting is required for a sign. If I want to put a sign up front for New York's Business Podcast, like, what would I have to do?
you are in, I don't know who governs this, whether you are in the village of Northport, which I
It
think you're in
is,
the
yeah.
village of Northport, but everything you have to look the location and who controls the permit. In this location, I know where you are, just from being from this area. You can end up with a sign out front, a post and panel sign, which not an illuminated sign. I don't think you're going to get that here where you are, because this is a little residential. But you're going to go to the town. We would do it for you, do the paperwork, get your landlord to sign off on it. That's okay. Do the paperwork. We'd look up the specs. This is what you're allowed to do. Submit it to the town, and then sit and wait 8 weeks before anything happens.
What does the permitting process cost?
It depends, and it depends on the town. Anywhere from 550 to for us to do the permit for you to 950, somewhere in that range.
And is the fee if you don't go through the permitting process?
Well, usually the fines are triple.
Okay.
Triple the fee. So above and beyond that, we charge, but the town charges you $100, $200. It's not like New York City where it's thousands. The town will charge you based on how big the sign is, $100, $200 for the town fee. If you don't get it, you get caught. Generally, but not always, it's triple the fees, and you still have to file a permit anyway. And you've got to hope that the sign you built and installed actually fits within the parameters of that town.
So it's worth doing it the right way.
Yeah, it's just not worth not. We don't make the signs we don't make the signs. We'll design it. We're moving forward. We do the permitting, but until the town kicks back that this is okay, we don't make the signs.
Mhm.
But what if we made it 3 inches too big and we're throwing it away?
Mhm.
So we don't make them until they're
Mhm.
done.
Very good to know.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the things because a lot of people are like, oh, where is this place? And it's it's kind of hidden. So
I know someone who can help you.
yeah, well, that's what I'm asking you selfishly about
But I
that.
don't know. You're in the village of Northport, and I don't know whether the village of Northport um, does their own permitting for signs, or this is Huntington.
Hmm.
Could be every jurisdiction. There's 2 counties, 2 cities, 11 towns, and 97 or 96 different permitting districts, villages that all control things differently. So unless you look up the address, I couldn't possibly. I don't know what every
Yeah,
location of Long
interesting.
Island is.
Sounds like a headache, but
Yeah.
that's all
That's
right. So what has changed in the past year? So I think we spoke last January, so
Yeah.
it's a little over a year ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's changed in business?
So one of the things that was said to me a while ago was, "You're the Long Island sign guy." Like, just very matter of factly, "You're the Long Island sign guy. You can talk about anything you want. You don't just have to talk about signs." And I sort of took it to heart. And it wasn't really until the spring of last year, excuse me, April or so, May, that I stopped and did a video on the signs, the Shinnecock Nation sign. They're on the Shinnecock Nation, the big advertising signs on the side of Montauk Highway, and they're illegal anyplace else, but it's on Shinnecock property. And I pulled over and I did a video on it, and the video
Are
did.
those the super illuminated, so like
Yeah,
the
they're lit
yeah,
signs. They're really close to a highway. But they're
the
on.
billboards, just the electric
Yeah,
billboards? Yeah, yeah.
that's it. And
The
but
only one on
I
Long
think they're
Island?
110 feet tall. They're big. They're big.
Yeah.
And not something that would get permitted anywhere else on Long Island, but it's on Shinnecock property, and they say, "This is our property, and we'll put up what we want." And they did, and they've been fighting about it. But I pulled over and did a video on it, and that was the first one where I stepped aside and said, "Hey, this is a Long Island of interest to Long Islanders." And I did the video, and it did really well. Happens I made a mistake on the, and people called me out on it. That helped. But then I started rolling onto other ones like Carl's Straight Path, and all of a sudden, people really took to those quick little history bites. And it's gone from us doing videos where we were just getting a few people, a few hundred people looking at our videos, to getting hundreds of thousands. I mean, the channels are getting anywhere from 5 to 7 million views a month per channel, on my Long Island Side Guy channels. It's crazy to see how quickly that exploded, and the recognition is obviously built when you get that type of volume. It's built the business. I mean, it's completely built the business, and it's not like I'm doing any high end video production, or I mean, we do research. The fact is, I'm not a historian. I tell really good stories about history. That's all I do, and it's really just changed the business.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's a lot more outside of the box than I think that a lot of business owners would think of, though. So, was it the friend that was saying that you could talk about anything that initiated that, or
It was actually Gary V. And so he said that to me. I had met with him, a few months before that. And he said that. He's like, "You're the Long Island Sign Guy." And he just said it very matter of factly, like, "That's who you are.
yeah?
Talk about whatever you want."
Tell me that story again, because I remember it, but for the audience that might not have heard it, tell me the story about when you met Gary Vee and how that process happened.
So I'll tell you the story about Gary V. So we are in my old sign shop, and Gary, he's a monster. So my wife, who follows him too, yells into the back of the shop, and this was probably right at the beginning of 2024. Yells into the shop and goes, "Hey, Gary V needs a sign." And I'm like, I went, she sends me the email address, and we track it down. We shoot off an email. "Hey, I'd love to help Gary with his sign needs." Nothing. Next day, I get an email back. "Hey, it's great. Here's the deal. This is what we're doing." And I said, "Great. I'll come out to Jersey." It was actually for his dad's sign shop in Jersey. His dad's wine place, wine library in Jersey. And we went back and forth. We put together this design for Wine Library. We designed the new signs for them. It was monster signs. And part of the arrangement was that I was going to get to be on Gary's podcast, and his team would train me in social media. It was a long packet. It was really really good opportunity for me, and we lost it. All of a sudden, I get a call. Gary's going in a different direction. Like, ah, shit. All right, well, we tried. And about a month later, I sent an email to the guy, my contact, and I said, "Hey, I'm still here. If you need anything, if you have any problems, don't hesitate. I'll glad to help."
Hmm.
Another month later, I get a call. I'm on a baseball field with my kid, and I get a call. He's like, "Hey, Gary wants to know if you still want to do the sign." Text me, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "He wants to talk to you tomorrow." So I ended up on a conference call with him. We did the sign. We did the wine library signage.
I guess it fell through with the other person,
It
or
fell through, and what I really thought is he had a relationship with it. This was a relationship, and somebody was sort of stepping out of their comfort zone to help him, and it didn't really work. And we were a sign company, and I was willing to take this chance. I valued what Gary said. Gary always says this. He'll give you his playbook because 99.9% of the people will not follow it.
yeah,
He's telling you, "I made $1 billion, or how much money he's made doing this. You should do it."
yeah.
And people are like, "Well, I'm not going to." Well, I leaned into it. I met with him. I sat down with him a few times, his team, and I just leaned into what he said and kept posting. We learned about what we were doing, and that was it. We were sitting there, and he finally said, he goes, "You're the Long Island Sign Guy. You can talk about whatever you want." It was actually in the elevator after we had met in his office in at,
What the
Hudson Yards down. We had met in his office. We were leaving. We met with his team, and then we were leaving, and he was leaving at the exact same time. We get in the elevator together, and so he and I are just talking for a second. And he goes, "You're the Long Island Sign Guy. You can talk about whatever you want." Very matter of fact. And that's really what made me lean into and what became this whole Long Island Sign Guy history thing.
Hmm.
Something I'm interested in also. It's helped. It doesn't hurt that I happen to like history. Drives my kids crazy, but that's fine. But I like it, and other people seem to like learning
Yeah,
about it.
absolutely. I mean, it's doing well. It's
Yeah.
doing very, very well. I'm curious about your kids. being that, you're not 25, and I think you have kids in high school, right?
Yep.
So it's an interesting dynamic that their dad is getting 5 million views a month.
Yeah.
What's their perspective on that?
Um, Depends on which one you ask. It's very, very different. I've gotten a really good response from kids. I mean, high school, teenage kids that, know these places that I'm talking about because they've been around for long enough. And so the kids all know me and know and they like it. And I really appreciate when the kids come up to me, the high school kids, friends of my kids come up to me and say, they like my latest videos. They talk to me about it. I really like it. And my kids are supportive. One has been in a video. We did a collab together.
Yeah, cool.
We were actually at a pizza place the other night, and some guy walks up and says, "You're the sign guy, right?" And I tell you, "Yeah, that's me." And then he looks over at my son and goes, "You were in a video the other day." I think he was very happy at
That's cool.
that.
I wasn't sure if they like were embarrassed or if you had to one of the things about social media that I think that so many people struggle with is that like fear of rejection or fear of embarrassment, whatever the case may be. Like how so many people are like, oh, what do people? What do I get a comment? Like for example, I've been doing social. This is my social media is my job. My
Yeah,
wife jokes to some degree, like oh, my husband's a like she's a nurse, so like all of her coworkers are firefighters and
yeah.
policemen, and she jokes like she respects what I do, and it's more of a joke, but it's funny. She's like, oh yeah, my husband's a content creator because like that's what I do. Like I do YouTube and like
Yeah,
YouTube was my full time job. Now I do this
yeah,
and then I make so content for businesses,
yeah.
and it's so it's like it was kind of funny. But the point of it is like I don't know what the point of it actually. I just
It's
totally
all
got lost.
you asking about whether my kids were
Oh, but
embarrassed.
but because I'm making content for so long,
Yeah,
I've um I've had 1,000 comments from people. Oh, Jake with this camera, and
yeah.
blah 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 blah, and the mocking, I guess, and you grow your thick skin, but still you get embarrassed. I did it at least, to some degree, and I wasn't sure how if your kids are like mocking you or if they,
Like my kids have been very supportive. I think they like it. I think they like it because the people that follow me, the high school. I mean, I'm from this town, and so the people know who I am, and it's not. I'm not doing goofy content. I'm not doing something embarrassed. I'm talking about history, right?
yeah,
So it's not. It's been okay.
yeah,
The
yeah,
kids have been okay with it.
yeah.
So
So then, we've kind of skirted around a couple different times throughout the conversation, but what would your advice be to business owners to use social media?
think outside the box. Don't. I think outside the box is such a used up saying. Really find something that interests you and talk about it. Don't get stuck in these old school ways of thinking. Look, I'm not young, right? I'm not your normal, Instagram person. Like I'm a lot older than you are, right? And don't worry about that. That's not um it's not what you're doing. You're not dancing online. You're not doing stupid stuff or following the latest trends. You're talking about, especially if you're talking about business. It's People respect the older. If you're well spoken and you're comfortable, just talk. Just talk, and you'll flow into what worked. Even after, look, I met with Gary V in I think the summer of 24, right? It took a year from there before my social media really took off. Like, it doesn't just happen.
Hmm.
It does not just happen. You need to work at it. You may get a video that blows up, but that's not really your social media taking off.
Can you tell me and in the audience the what the I guess process was for your social media to really take off? So, what everybody's story will be different, but what can they expect of something like what happened to you? So it was posting got minimal views, and then all of a sudden, what was the traction look like?
So I had been before I got into this run, we posted about all my videos. So there was still a lot of videos. Every product we did, every installation, I'd be standing in the front saying, "Hey, we just installed this," and so I still had a lot of videos and a lot of content. Plus, we were running paid ads, so a lot of people were seeing my face, even if I wasn't, somebody it was just an ad on. And then after I started again going down that route of expanding, I would start talking about other things. I would start talking about business on Long Island, like what's going on. This another Bola market was opening, and and some of those videos would start to get volume. They would start to get a few thousand views and 10,000 views or 20,000 views, and it would just, and then the next one would go down to 500. And then once it really started to hit, when I started to talk about the history and kept really rolling those out and regularly every day posting these videos on and on and on, it was a lot of time, a lot of effort, and then all of a sudden, every video we're posting is getting 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 views, and it was enormous. It was really an enormous. And then at that point, it just starts flowing. Once you get a base going and an understanding, you get an understanding of what the content needs to look like, what it needs to sound like, what you need, and it's nothing. It's not rocket science. I'm not. I don't have any great big background in social media, right? You just learn as you're doing it, and it continued to it grew from there, and the videos just sort of as you get more relevant, right? Your videos do better over time. More people see it, more people know you, and they want to watch your content regardless. So you get more and more you get more and more of a base underneath you.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Now, you're writing a book, correct?
correct.
Can you tell me I mean, I know the name of it, but, like, can you tell the people this?
I have, I get a lot of inquiries. I talk to probably 20, 25 local business owners a week. And I sit on calls with talking them through business and social media and how to build it. And so I finally sat down and I'm writing a book, Dominate Local in the Age of AI. And it's more about dominating local using social media, dominating the local market in your industry using social media, but how important AI is going to be affecting us. And that's the reason it's in the title of the book. And it's, I really think it's what's happening now with AI and personal branding is going to totally change the market in not 5 years, not 10 years, this year, next year, the year after. And it's happening a lot faster than people think.
Mhm.
The reason I'm not even talking a lot about AI in the book titled about AI is because anything I talk about by the time it goes to print is not going to be relevant anymore. It's the understanding and the use of AI and robotics in what you do and what everybody does.
So, obviously, people need to read the book, but, like, what are some of the topics that you talk about within it?
Well, the biggest thing is personal branding. Look, I think we're going into a world of, and I hate to say this, but it's a winner take all. And it's going to be that way because there's going to be parts of AI that are going to allow people to do an enormous amount of work, right? So let's say, for example, you're a graphic designer. You now can produce a certain amount of content every day. If you embrace AI, there's still a certain amount of content that needs to be done by a person, but you may be able to do the work of 20 or 30 or 50 other graphic designers in one person. That's the winner take all. That one, those other 50 graphic designers, they didn't embrace technology, they didn't embrace AI. This guy did. He's going to be
Hmm.
the winner take all. Now, how's it going to determine who that is? That's going to be personal branding. That's going to be whose name is out there, whose name is going to stand out and be memorable to the consumers that they know who to call, who to reach out to when they need. Because a lot of these industries, and for anybody who turns around and says, oh, what I do is not going to be affected, you're the first one to go, right? That's really, I can say all the great things I can say about, you can't do what I do as a sign company. Yeah, you really can, right?
Yeah.
It's not. It's going to be about whoever embraces AI in what they do, robotics, AI, and whoever builds the brand that is recognizable. That's really what that's and the focus on how to go about doing that and how we've done it at, Long Island Sign Guy.
Yeah. I had an interesting conversation with a buddy recently who owns a business, and he was kind of joking but kind of serious at the same time. And he's like, dude, I don't really know what to do with my time because I look at my father. He said, who's saying he looks at his father and he's like, he worked 12 hours a day. He'd come leave at 7, get home at 7, like just worked. And I'm like, he's like, I'm making more money than he was. And I don't really know how to fill my time because, like, I don't know what to like. I'm done. Like I did all
Yeah,
my work, and obviously you can always, you can always find time as a business
sure.
to do it. But he's like, and we were talking about. It, he's like, I don't. I kind of just. I'm sitting here watching a YouTube video about marketing, like
Yeah,
and but
yeah,
the realization that we came to is like because we become so much more efficient now. Like we don't. Obviously, you can fill that time with other
correct,
things, right? But the
correct.
concept is what used to take your dad 4 hours to finish, you just finished in 45 minutes. So now you have a lot more time to watch that YouTube video, but like also
Correct.
to fill with other things. And how you utilize the extra time that you now have is really
Yep,
what will determine like how you succeed. But it is
exactly.
a really interesting concept of how we compare ourselves to these previous. It's like I talk about all the time. I'm really heavily involved in agriculture. I grow a lot of my own stuff. And I find that really interesting. But it's like the agricultural revolution. It used to take to till a field used to
Yeah.
take 400 men 5 days, and all of a sudden the tractor was like, oh my gosh, I can do this in 45 minutes. What used to and all those people were removed,
Hmm.
and they did it much faster. So if you compare yourself to previous generations, it's not really a fair argument.
Well, I think the concept of what you just said is exactly fair in that, how long it took to plow a field and then how long it took before and after and how that period of time went down. Now think of how long it takes to plow a field. You have one person in a massive tractor. Well, and that person works 8 hours a day. Now, what's going to happen is that, continuing with that analogy, there's going to be a robot working 24/7 plowing that field, and it's going to take zero human
Mhm.
intervention. So it's a continuation of that concept, and I look at it, from the perspective of signs. If on a sign company, how many sign companies do you need on Long Island? Like that's really what I look at. It's going to be a winner take all
Mm.
scenario in that, I obviously would like it to be me, but it's going to be what you recognize and the personal brand that's built along with it. That's why I've leaned so heavily into what I do because I'm going to be efficient. I'm going to eventually have a robot going out with my installer. So now instead of hiring two people, I've got a robot on my installer. And then at some point it's going to come down. I'm going to have a robot in the shop doing all the signage. And now we're becoming efficient. We can handle my robots can work 24/7, so I can take in more business. And I think that's really where we're going. And I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize how fast it's coming.
Mm.
The average person, because the average person is like, well, what can I do about that? And even your friend that you were just talking about, your friend's like, I have all this extra time. Well, if he has all the extra time and there's a guy standing next to him that is doing the exact same job he is and has all that extra time, but he's got a brand behind him and he's recognizable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting, and I'm curious. So, how are you utilizing AI currently?
So we're using it a lot of we're using it a lot of streamlining of our operations, how we respond to customers. We're just now doing it for our phone systems, linking into our lead generation. If you go online, it's all AI responding, getting down to the point of getting me on the phone at set times to speak to a customer.
Hmm.
So we're using it in that manner. We've started to use it for design work, which my designer uses it for design
Yeah.
work. So there's a limit. We don't have, but I know it's coming. The robotics are coming. Personal robots should be a year away, the end of this year away. So how long is it going to be when we send somebody out on an install? Well, my guys that does on an install, it's my guy and a helper. You
Yeah.
need two people. Well, now it's my guy and a robot.
Yeah.
It's not, and it starts to wipe out the people and it becomes much more efficient and working longer hours, around the clock, not worried about sick days and things along that line.
Yeah, I think a lot of people talk about the concern about AI taking over jobs, and I definitely think that it is a concern, but in a different way that people typically think. They think that, oh, that you talk about your two employees, or that your sign you talk about your sign installer
So
and his helper, and then the helper will soon be gone by a robot or whatever the case may be, right? I think that people then is like, oh no, that like we AI is so bad, like it just made that guy unemployed, and to some degree, maybe in the short term it did, but the reality of it, if going back to the agricultural revolution concept of like the plow unemploying all those hand workers, somebody needs to make the plow, somebody needs to install the oil in the plow, somebody needs to change the tires. Like every time there's a revolution of something
sure.
like industrial revolution, agricultural revolution, it just changes the industries. Where like yes, people temporarily become unemployed. They don't need to
Sure.
work the plow anymore,
Yep.
but somebody needs to build the road to get the truck to the farmer. Like
Yep.
it'll just change industries, and that helper will have to find something else that's now and a job that didn't exist 2 years before that.
I think in this instance, I think we're looking at a different scenario. Um, I think we're looking at a different scenario that um, I don't quite know if there's, people I hear guys going, I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician, I can't go out, you can't send a robot out to do this. And then you stop for a second, I'm like, why not? Elon Musk has a robot to weld because he needs a lot of welders to weld cars. He built a robot that welds. That's an industry. Realistically, the industry, because he has a robot that now welds, that's an industry that just got taken out.
Hmm.
Right? If you look at it in that way, I mean, to every component of it, self-driving vehicles, right? Think about here's a here's a scenario for you. Think about self-driving vehicles. What happens when vehicles become self-driving? When it starts to gain adoption. The highways, there's no traffic jams because every other vehicle knows where the vehicles. What happens to the insurance companies? You don't need insurance companies because there's no accidents. Okay.
Hmm.
You don't need police cars because there's nobody speeding. Think about all the ramifications, the efficiencies of me being able to get in a highway and drive home at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock on the LIE and not slow down because every car knows where every other car is going. Those little things just have such
Yeah.
going, and then people don't think of it that way, but that's it. It trickles down so much. I think you're looking at a world that changes, hopefully in a good way. But the where it's going to go to,
I'm excited for those, man.
yeah,
I hate
I am too.
I hate
I
driving.
am too. Exactly. I think sit back. Yeah,
Yeah, man,
yeah,
absolutely. In fact, I drove to Brooklyn this morning, and I was looking at the train. The trains, it was a nightmare. It was like four different trains.
yeah.
But I was like, "Oh, I just want to sit and work on my laptop. What are the kids like? I can't wait to do that in my
Self-driving
self-driving
vehicle.
car."
Exactly. Exactly. So
Yeah, it's really interesting, man, and we're living in very interesting times. And even going back to that plumber analogy, like okay, maybe the robot that does the plumbing's not that it's a bit farther away, but like I just changed like literally like 2 months ago, like took apart my sink and fixed it all up because I took a photo and gave it a chat GPT and said, how do I fix this? Like I would have never been able to do that, like before, like
that's
I changed literally like I had something broke on my freezer door, like it was not closing properly
yeah.
anymore. I took 3 pictures and then walked me through the whole and then follow up questions and this and that. Ordered the thing on Amazon. It is like I've become my wife's like, oh wow, look at this handyman. I got like people are like I'm just asking ChatGPT all these questions. But it's like I didn't have to call a plumber anymore. Like so like I think that's even the first step before, the robot comes
Sure.
is like we've all become significantly more
Self-sufficient.
self-sufficient is a really interesting word, yeah.
Okay. So
Mm,
I, as we've grown so much in the last year that, in any company, when you grow, you need to take a step back. You're like, okay, these procedures, the way we're doing business at 500,000 doesn't scale to 2 million. I need to redo everything. And I used to own a security software company 15 years ago. And we did that. When we got to 2 million, we had to gut everything. When we got to 5, we had to start, put different structures in place for management and how we handled customer service. And we're at that point now in my sign company, and we've started to gut everything. And so one of my biggest issues is how leads come in. I don't like the way we're handling them using all the different systems, the HubSpot and Go High Level and my ordering system. I don't like it. So I sat down with ChatGPT and we had a conversation. Probably, if you look at the string, probably an hour conversation, back and forth, questions and everything. And finally I said, hey, I need you to write the prompts for me for Base 44. Base 44 creates apps. Anything you want. You see all the commercials, like Lovable. I use Base 44. It is what it is. And I need you to create all the prompts for me for Base 44. Got me 8 or 10 sets of prompts that I put into Base 44. It would do its work. I'd send it another one. It would do its work. In 2 hours, I created my own CRM. As good as HubSpot, but customized to what I want. Exactly what I need for my signage. 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And literally I want to change. I'm like, oh, I don't, my admins call me and say, hey, there's no way for me to log out and do this. Hold on. Now there is.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's how you use,
Yeah.
those are the things you do to use AI.
Yeah.
Like, not be scared to have the conversations. I do this, and I've seen Gary Vee talk about this, that he has extensive conversations with AI, with ChatGPT, or I think he uses ChatGPT, whatever. But he sits there and has conversations with business conversations to constantly talk back and forth and get interrogated and ask questions, and you ask questions, and it'll come back and forth. And I'll show you the chats that I go back and forth on how we designed this CRM that we now use. And it's exactly what I need. It's not what you need. You need something different. It's what I need. And that's it.
It's incredible. It really is, and I'm actually you perked my ears with that, because I'm in need of a CRM at the moment too, and I've been exploring different options, and there's some really good. I've had actually a couple of people sit on the podcast that own a CRM company, and I was looking, but now I'm like, customized to exactly what I need and this and that. It's very interesting, man.
My websites.
How much does Base 44 cost a month or
I
a
want
year?
to tell you $40 or $50.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Nothing dramatic.
No.
Because I designed 2 of my websites, Long Island Sign Guy. Now Signs of Long Island's getting done. Has my CRM in there. I'm gonna have it build a place. I go around, take pictures. So it's gonna build me a thing to hook to my phone so I can upload all my pictures as I take them. It'll categorize them by job, by location. So I have all my graphics in one location. So my designer who needs a picture of the front of a building that we're putting a design on can just go into the system and pull up this. That's how you use AI for now.
Check this out. I want to share this story with you, because I think now that you're sufficient in this, because most people don't totally understand it, or they kind of freaked out. They're like, "Oh, really? Used AI for like?" They kind of think it's
They're
gross.
still using ChatGPT to find out the weather,
if they're even doing that, So I just created this whole business model through ChatGPT within the past 2 weeks. I had this idea. So, little bit of backstory. One of my branches of business that I'm starting up, or a little even further backstory, is that I was a YouTuber. I made money doing YouTube. Don't do as much of that music content anymore, but I still had this big platform. I was like, it seems like such a waste just to let it go, because I'm not doing music as much. So I pivoted to what I am doing. I'm doing a lot of homesteading stuff at my home in general. Like, I make my own sourdough. I have a huge garden, but all these things, right? And I was like, why don't I just start talking about it? Like, I'm doing it, so why not talk about it? And if I can make money doing what I enjoy, all right, so it's just kind of one of those things. So it's called Modern Primitive. And one of the legs, I was like, I wonder if I could have AI create some sort of like PDF starting guide for people that want to start a garden but haven't started it yet. So this is 2 weeks ago, and I've already started making money from it, which is crazy. So I said, what are some concepts that you think would work under this Modern Primitive idea that I could potentially sell online? And one of them was us starting a garden concept. So then, you know, through this was a conversation, probably 30
Yeah,
minutes, like you
yeah.
said. And at the end of it, it wrote the whole 40-page PDF for me. And now so then obviously I'm reviewing and say, hey, let's take this section out, add this section, talk about this, blah, blah, all these things, like fine tuning what I want.
Yeah,
It's not just like I copied and pasted the whole thing, right?
sure.
You know, change this language, format it more like that, you know, so it's really personalized to what I wanted. But then I just copied and pasted the text into Canva, designed it a little bit with graphic designing, exported the PDF, and then I had it. Okay, now we're going to start running Facebook ads. What demographics should I do? All these, literally all these things, and then taking a step further. So then I filmed my ads. I put in all the information. What kind of like do I want lead generation? Do I want website clicks? Like through
Yeah.
the meta ads. Then I'm constantly sending screenshots, being like, "What do you think about this?" And then having to adjust my text a little here and there, and all these things. And then I started running the ads,
Yeah.
and then I every day or two I'd send a screenshot of the ads running. And okay, how do we optimize these? Oh, well, turn off this ad, add more money to this ad, and reconfigure. Dude, it's insane. It's insane. Like a whole business model in the past 2 weeks that I've started making money on. I have I've spent I've only spent I spent less than $200 on ads, which is
Yeah.
insane. First of all,
Yeah.
I spent like $150 on ads so far, which is great. Like once I start to scale that, like we talking about $1,000, $2,000. Like I already have like 75 people signed up for the mail. It's not like life changing, but
Yeah,
75 people for $150. I already made 2 sales on the PDF, so I made $30 from the PDF. 75 people on this mailing list that auto triggers too. I created automations inside of my email thing where somebody signs up for the mailing list. It waits one day, then it'll send them an additional free email, like free information.
Yeah.
Then it'll send them an upsell to the thing. Then 3 days later, it'll send it. There's a 30 prompt thing where it sends them all these automated emails, and
Yeah.
if they purchase the thing, then it kicks them to a different thing, so they don't get the next step sell.
This is the stuff that we used to do back in the day that
crazy.
took coders and
It would have taken 4 months to do that, and I wouldn't have had the capabilities to do
Yeah.
all that. So now, like the last thing I'll say is $150 in. I've already made $30 from it. I've already have 75 people on the mail list. I let this run to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 worth of ads. I have 1,000 people on a mailing list now that in a month, like it's crazy.
does not take that
It's
much.
crazy.
There's so many. If you're not scared and you're willing to say, "Oh, I could try that," which is what I've done. The things that I've asked ChatGPT to do to talk to me about. It's constant. It's
Yeah.
brainstorming ideas.
Yeah.
You have a constant companion to brainstorm ideas.
It's a
really
little
what it
weird,
is.
A little weird, but
A little weird. Yeah.
I have to tame it every once in a while. I'll be like, "You're too encouraging. I need you to tell me."
Well,
how it is,"
so
kind of
you
thing.
go into the personal, just so you know, and I've changed mine. You go into your account, and I have a professional version, and you go into the
Yeah, me
paid,
too, yeah.
you go into the personalizations, and you tell it, I need you to be super critical and make sure that everything that you analyze is bulletproof for me. That you tell it, I don't need you to be encouraging. I need you to be super critical. I need you to analyze everything I do. Make sure that what you're kicking back to me is absolutely bulletproof. You've got proof of whatever, and you put this in there. It changes the tone. So not everything is, oh, you're so great.
Yeah.
You've got it.
Now you're really thinking like a professional.
When they coded it, they basically said, be nice.
Yeah.
It's nicer to have someone be more encouraging than critical of you. But if you want it for business, you change that. Be critical of me.
Yeah.
Basically is what you're saying.
Yeah. We're living in some wild times, man. So now it's just, I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
very excited about this garden thing because it's like,
Yeah, I would be too.
like, this is amazing.
I would. Now I didn't think of. I'm sitting going. I got a lot of followers. What can I sell?
But yeah, I mean, well, okay, so we talked about let me backtrack a little bit. We had briefly talked about. I haven't announced this on the podcast yet, so it's the first time I'm talking about it. But with the Built in New York book that
Yep.
we was talking about, and what it's doing is it's pulling quotes from the interviews and having a write up on it, and then it'll be a profile it's like 25 lessons from 25 business owners, and it's going to be a really nice coffee table book.
Mhm.
And I think that it'll do really well, like in boutique shops or as gifts to next guests and all those things, right? What I think you could do is a history book of Long Island. And I'm serious though.
Well, you're not the first. I'm only laughing because I get asked that a lot.
You
Do
have
you
all these.
do-
So that's the thing. I had all this content. I had all this information. I'm like, what do I do with it? You have all the information. You have all the content. You just need. You could literally. This is even the crazy part about AI. You could upload the transcript of your videos to AI,
I have all my transcripts.
You have the transcript. You literally upload it to AI. Say, format this into like a well-read book,
Yeah.
and then you just have it. You know, then you could pull your editors can pull some pictures and stuff, and now you have the history of Long Island. And
I get
it's just
so
interesting, man.
I
Long Island's weird history.
the amount of that gets brought up, a lot. That do I do a book, and I'm like, seriously, you want a book from me? Like,
But like,
I
I
know.
think that it'd be one of the like, I don't know. Are you gonna make $1 million from it? I don't know. Probably not. But if you
But,
could make it 10, 15, 20 grand, a year,
but
because I could see it being like oh, I got my dad this Christmas gift that's kind of like, kind of one
yeah,
of those things, like a coffee table book
yep,
that
yeah,
like,
of short stories. It
yeah,
literally is a movie book of short stories.
yeah. But
It's
like, oh, this is where Milldam got its name. This
yeah,
is
yeah,
where all these things that exactly what your video is doing,
yep.
but like, I can't capably sit and watch all your videos. I just don't have the time. But I'm sitting having a coffee. I might flip through and
Yeah.
read, here and there. I don't know, man. But like that's
Yeah,
the
I
thing.
know.
Like,
It's been brought up to me twice in 2 days now.
oh
I
well, there you go,
it's gonna
man.
be
I
my
guarantee you could probably get it almost ready to print in 2 weeks with AI.
yeah. Well, I will tell you that I use ChatGPT to write the book. Um, the stories are all mine, right? The It's filled with stories of my business experiences, conversations I've had with different business people. They're mine, but they're me talking it in and go, here's this story. We should put this story here, but that's a lot of it. The whole book is question answer, be back and forth of AI asking me questions and me explaining the
Oh,
answers
that's
and
really
talking.
cool.
So, which is a way you can write books in different ways. I'm not you know, I'm not an author that have written a ton of books but you can write books as you sit down and write them, or you go with a ghostwriter
Hmm.
who will basically sit and ask you questions. And then when you tell a story, they'll ask you questions on that story and they'll expand it and they'll make it a readable format. So that's what we've done with this. It's basically a Q&A session with me on how to build a local company.
I would love to check out the preview if you have one. Very interested in reading that. But it's so interesting, man. Okay, another question, AI question.
Go ahead.
Why don't you ask ChatGPT, how can I monetize what I'm doing on social media?
I have. I don't like the answer.
What did it say?
Well, so it's the way to monetize what I do on social media. Although I haven't asked it in the way you're just. I've told it how to monetize on social media. Now you're going to make me change my question. I've told it how I can monetize using YouTube I do have the format to take all the videos that I've done to the level of longer videos, 60-second videos, if are not, they're on reels, but they're tough to become monetizable on YouTube.
Yeah.
I could take the very same script that I did on the Seaford Oyster Bay and make it a 3 or 4 minute script, much easier to be monetized
Yeah.
than the shorter scripts.
So, but that's on one lane. The reason I grabbed my phone is I want to read you the prompt I sent ChatGPT about this thing, because I like to ask it, what are my blind spots? What am I not thinking about?
Yep.
What's unconventional?
Yep.
And sometimes some things are ridiculous, but sometimes they're real. I was like, oh, that's. But then you kind of fine tune it. Some of the things
Yeah.
it sent me were like, I'm never gonna do that. But like, oh, that one thing, like, what if we went in this direction?
Yep.
So I want you to hear this. I said, what's a few super sellable ideas from my gardening/homesteading content? Something I can run ads on and people buy, like a PDF growing guide, but something that stands out and also may be cheap. Something that can compete with everything else that's out there, but is also, and also the free stuff that's out there, giving people a reason to buy that they need this. So then it started like it gave me like 8 different ideas, and then I started honing like
What
I want not what I think, I want what do you think? What am I missing?
what are you missing?
And then have you ever used the deep research or the agent mode for things?
No, I use a different one, but not AI.
Those things are crazy.
Really?
So I had it. So I'm just starting to get. I've only run like 3 or 4 of them. Agent can do things for you. For example, like I don't totally understand it, to be honest with you, but like my buddy every morning will has it run, like, check all these stock websites and write a report every at 7 a.m. every morning. Writes a report on these stocks that's going on, and like, here's what's might be a buy and why it might be a buy, and puts this PDF together. And deep research is kind of
My
similar, but
mind's going right now, by
yeah,
the
and
way.
deep research is similar, but it like really gives a ton of information around a topic. So what I had to do it for deep research is I said, here's my Jacob Restituto, like look up on YouTube Jacob Restituto, Modern Primitive, and New York Business Podcast. I want you to I want you to analyze all of them. Where is it lacking? How can it be monetized better? How can it run better? What are the efficiencies? What are the inefficiencies? And it wrote this 16-page PDF on my business. And I'm like, when am I going to have it took me 3 weeks to actually find the time to read it. But it's like all these things, like it's insane. It's insane.
I use a different research tool for all my sign content, all my history content. I use Manus, which is it provides me very in-depth research. I then generally take that research and have ChatGPT break it down into a little bit a script of sorts, more bullet points, and then I take that off of it and create the script that I'm going to use. And then what I end up by doing, by the way, is taking that script, putting it back to Chat. This is the final one I'm using. And so it learns so what they kick out to me over time keeps getting a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I keep kicking back what I'm going to use over time.
Mm-hmm. What is Manus?
It's a research tool. It's an AI research tool. Just another way to spend $40 a month. But now you're saying the deep research, and I'm sitting there going, I would suspect I could probably combine to that. I suspect I can combine to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just a feature. I mean, you're already paying for ChatGPT, so
yeah, that's what I'm
it's a
saying.
feature within it. You just press. I think it's in like when you.
I know where it is.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what I haven't played with it. There's so much. That's the intimidating part to people. People don't do it because they get.
Yeah.
It's so
They
much.
think the barrier to entry is so.
And it's so difficult. I can't do this. And even I wouldn't have had the I don't want to say brain power, the bandwidth, the mental bandwidth to write the prompts for my own CRM. But I had the mental bandwidth to have a conversation for an hour of driving with ChatGPT. Literally, I hit record as I'm driving. I'm hitting record talking, and then I hit the button so it plays back what it says as I'm listening to it, and then I hit record and we have a conversation.
Are you talking about the app?
The app. You can listen.
Where it actually speaks.
Exactly, speaks it back.
Yeah.
And so I go back and forth, and we have the conversation, and I tell it to spit out the prompts. That would have taken me a long time to create the prompts that created a CRM that is completely customized to what I want. And it would have taken a while, but we did it. And it took me, I literally sat down one night before dinner. I think it took me 2 hours. We had late dinner, and it took me 2 hours to write the code for it, to do the prompts and make any changes. And now I have a CRM. I keep talking about the CRM because it was just done this week, right? So, but it's fresh in my mind. But it's there. It's all for you to take if you want, as opposed to saying, I don't know, somebody else will do it. I don't.
Well, that's kind of I really like your analogy about the winner takes all. I think that's a really interesting concept because you can dominate the market, like completely not like by me running these ads back to the garden content, and then now I'm honing them and optimizing. Like I'm getting what I'm paying. Like I actually reached out to somebody that was on the podcast, and they were killing it on lead generation through ads and what they were doing. And I asked them what their typical like cost per conversion was, and they were like, oh, somewhere like $2 to $3. And I was like at $1.25. I'm like, they were killing it. Now because of now I'm like half their price.
Yeah.
Like it's insane. And like, but now I compound that, and now I'm swallowing the market share because they're not optimizing. They're still paying $4 a lead, and now they can't. You can't afford to get as many leads as I am now.
You can't afford it.
But now I've optimized it, so I'm just swallowing your leads.
Well, so it's you look at what I do, and I still pay for ads. I run paid ads. I think it's important.
Do you know that the percent of what comes through paid ads and what comes
Yes,
through?
I know exactly.
So what's paid versus organic?
I probably I don't have it in front of me, but I have the exact metrics. But it's over half come from straight up people calling me we get a lot of phone calls and they've seen my videos and they need a sign. I can usually tell mostly geography where they're calling me from. If they're not in this little area that Google Business Profile would give them, the odds are they just saw some videos. Or if they came through an ad, a paid ad, they come through my lead form. So
Oh, okay,
it's in other
interesting.
words, I would have a lead form if they came through a paid ad. Whereas if they called, the odds are they've
So you're
seen my
still getting
video.
50% leads through your ads.
Oh yeah, we're still getting because I run a lot. Well, the other part is so here's the part that's tough to say in that my lead cost per lead has dove dramatically as my social media has gotten bigger
Very
because
interesting. Yeah.
now as scary as this is to say, my face sells signs, right? It's that's my face is now recognizable. So people see my ads, the ones that say, if you own a business on Long Island, you need to talk to me, the Long Island sign guy. They see that ad and they're like, oh, that dude just did the history of the Seafood Oyster Bay. Or, I just watched his videos. So it's driven down the cost dramatically, considerably lower than any other sign company could be. So this is what I'm talking about with the personal brand and the value of personal brand, the importance of a personal brand. If you were just running those ads, and when I was just running those ads a year and a half ago, I was paying $30 a lead. And that was fine. And I was happy with it. Now I'm running those ads and I'm paying $10,
Wow.
$8, $12, and
Well, yeah.
it's low.
Yeah.
It's dramatically lower, and it's all based off of those
Yeah.
those. So
I'm curious if you had to like generalize your numbers a percent, like what percent of your monthly revenue are you putting towards ads at the moment?
very low. As I sort of just skirted back, mentioned earlier, is that we're at that phase where we just got to a point where all the social media that we had done really caught up, and we were ahead of ourselves, and we're revamping the business, the structure of the business itself, so we can handle more. Because I'm not spending much on ads, I could 10x it. We can't handle a 10x right now. We will be able to handle a 10x in a month from now.
Hmm. So what's next for the sign company or you?
That's it. We're I want to focus a lot on business and local business and helping local businesses grow and being the survivor, being the winner in a year or 2 or
Hmm.
3 years down the road.
So let's pivot really. Last thing we'll talk about is before we started filming, you talked about the fact that you have a separate channel where you talk about business for business
Correct.
owners. So can you plug that? And can we talk about it briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Frisch Bowl, which is my
Ah, I like
last
that.
name.
That's cool. Oh,
And but it's going to be long form content. It's separate. It's
it's only
business.
long form content.
It's not. No, no. I apologize. There's going to be a long form on YouTube, conversations, longer conversations about it. Instagram and TikTok are going to be the shorter form conversations, but it's a lot of talking about business, and it's not just hey, this is how you run ads. It's this is what your mentality needs to be successful, and stop being scared that you're 50 years old and go, oh, I'm near retirement. This won't happen. Well, unless you're retiring at 52, it's happening, right? So, and it's happening now, and don't be scared to embrace it. Um, I talk a lot about that, and someone made the comment to me yesterday that I've inspired people say that you're older. I'm like, I don't hide that fact, but that you're doing what you're doing later. I say later. I'm trying to delicately talk around, that I'm doing it, and I'm a little bit older than the normal person would be doing this online, and I encourage people. I'm like, you're not too old. It's not. You're different, but there are people that want to talk to you. There are people that want to talk to you. There are people that want to talk to me. They may be a different group, but they're out there.
Hmm.
They're out there. So
Yeah, I was just listening to something today on my drive back from Brooklyn, and they were talking about. He was talking about marketing and growing a social media strategy, whatever the case might be, right? But one of the things he said is people there's four categories of why people follow you, and one is like social, like if you have status, and
mhm.
status is something that like people want, and if you can offer something, right? But the last thing he talked about was likeness. And he's like, people like to talk to people that are like them, whether you look like them, whether you sound like them, whether, he talked about how he and his wife make the same kind of content, but he has 90% male and she has 50% women,
Yeah.
like, and he only has 2% women. And they're talking the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But the fact that she's a woman talking about that topic, now she
Works.
significantly has a lot more women following her
Yeah.
because of the likeness, and as simple as sex, like male and female. You tell it now, like the fact of like, oh, I have tattoos, or oh, I smoke cigars, or all these, like,
Mhm.
people gravitate towards their own archetype. And
Right.
we could talk about the same exact thing, but somebody
Exactly.
that's like me is gonna listen to me, and somebody that's like you is gonna listen to you. And we
Exactly.
think that we
100%.
have to fit this mold, or who am I supposed to be online? It's like, no, just be you, because that's
You.
what's gonna bring people to you, is
Th-
you.
That is the one thing that has to be. You cannot act like I says. I'm not Denzel. I can't act like someone different every time, right? I'm me, and if I act one way online and I walk in to your business to sell you a sign, and I'm a different dude, you can be like, get out of here. Like
Mhm.
it's like putting a different picture on your dating website.
Yeah.
It's the same
It's
thing.
even as simple as, like, there's like personalities online that I've watched, throughout the years, and like they seem really clean cut and all these they seem like really great people, and then all of a sudden they're you see it behind the scenes, and they're dropping f bombs, all this stuff, and like whatever people want, but like it's
Yeah.
jarring when you
Yep.
see somebody so long in one aspect, and then all of a sudden you see them outside of that, and it's like, not that, like, almost as something we trust, actually, is kind of, because you
Yep.
think you know them, and then all of a sudden
Correct.
you don't, and you're like, whoa, like, you're
Absolutely.
not who I thought you were. And I'm not even saying that they're a bad person, just the way they speak is different. And you're like, I was not expecting that. And now you're like kind of like off kilter, and it just
Yeah.
totally changes the dynamic of the relationship.
I agree with you 100%. Absolutely, you can't be a different person. You make people uncomfortable. People think they're getting bait and switch. It's really
Yeah.
almost what it
Yeah.
is.
Catfishing. Yeah.
Yeah, is what it is. I think I've been um, lucky in what I've done. I think my age and the way I look, because I'm talking to local business owners. That's who I'm talking to.
Mhm.
I'm talking to the average person. The average person probably got a little bit of receding hairlines, got a little bit of a tummy, not a good clean cut like that. That's not what I'm talking to, and that's why where those people, it works well for me. That's what the business owners that I'm talking to
Yeah.
and follow me.
No, that's really interesting, man.
Yeah,
I want to wrap it up with this, but it's been an interesting conversation, and it's
yeah.
really, you got my. I'm like, shoot, man, I'm gonna like. I said my wife I'd be home at 5. I'm like, I think I might,
I'll be home a little late
yeah, I
today,
gotta check out this
honey.
CRM thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's incredible what you can do these days.
yeah.
And but I think that personally, if anybody gets anything from this conversation, I really think that it should be that personal branding, as weird as it may be, as strange as it may be, can absolutely completely change a business. And I have these, and I don't like talking about social media on social media, because I feel like so many people, it just it feels gross. It's like
Hmm.
it's almost like talking about COVID, where it's like, all right, when are we done talking about COVID, kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's like, when are we done talking about AI? When are we done talking about social media? But the truth is, and I've heard it so many times, and I'm starting to say it so many times, it's like, so many people have sat in that chair and they say, so much of my business comes from Instagram. 50%, 80%, 100%, 20%, like 30. And it's like, not, I would take out the 20, because it's like, it's, these people are saying the majority of their business comes from Instagram. And then so many businesses like, it doesn't even work. I'm like, no, I'm not even talking about paid ads.
yeah.
They just post on Instagram. They have 3,000 followers, and their hair salon is fully booked. And it's like, it's crazy, man. And
Yeah.
we just think that you need to be a million followers and 2 million followers to have a huge business. But like, these people are
That's
fully booked, or 80% booked, 100% through Instagram. And it blows my mind.
it is so powerful. It's so ridiculously powerful. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. I started this business last year at zero. We didn't have any customers. We didn't have anything. I had to leave it in the last business. I couldn't take anything. We are, uh, uh, we've grown enormously. I mean, we're talking about sign companies. I don't like to talk numbers, but we're 3, 4 times what an average sign company would do in their first year. Companies, most sign companies, the average sign company in this country, I think does 600,000, 550,000 in sales. Being around for 5 years. Like we're talking about we've gone so far past that in our first year and a half, and 100% is social media.
Yeah.
100% is social media. It's ridiculous. And people sit there, people look at me and go, "Arthur, you only have 40,000 followers on Instagram." 75% of my followers are on Long Island. So that means I got 30,000 people on Long Island that follow me. Would you rather have 200,000 people all around the United States
Yeah.
or 1,000,000 people all around the United States? I've got 30,000 on Long Island on Instagram. It's so much more powerful than people realize, than people are willing to put forth the effort for.
Yeah.
All these people that follow you are here for a reason. They've done this. They've been on social media and they realize the power of it.
Hmm.
That's what it is.
Well, it's really interesting, man, and I really appreciate your time. So we'll wrap it up with that. But thank you. Thanks for coming on
Thank
again.
you, sir.
First person to
Appreciate
be
it.
the reoccurring.
I'm more impressed that I got invited back. I was concerned about that.
Oh, wow.
I was kidding.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, good.
So.